Minions and Monsters is the seventh film in the Despicable Me franchise modern myth, really. I mean, what started as one small film in 2010 has become a saga. It's become its own universe. This franchise has had more installments and more cultural impact than some of the most widely well-regarded franchises. And yet, critically and among audiences, they're all kind of considered as just fine. And then Minions and Monsters hits the scene. And I wasn't planning on doing a video on this. I wasn't planning on talking about this online. And then people are saying, hold on, this is great. And it's like, well, is it actually great? And so we had to find out for ourselves. And seventh film, and they're like, yeah, we just made the best one. We just actually made the best one.
Yeah, they decided, you know what? Let's mix it up. It's celebrating movies. With the Minions, they invented cinema.
This is the Out of Time Film Podcast, where your hosts Tom and John discuss everything from blockbuster films to TV and games like there's no tomorrow.
We're focusing on, there's Henry, there's Ed, and there's James. And we follow these three guys where James wants to make a movie. He wants to be in Hollywood making films, and he has an idea to make like a kaiju monster movie. Throughout the movie, he finds some monsters. He summons Cthulhu. Was their name Cthulhu?
I can't remember what they're called, but they're expecting a big monster and it turns out to be a smaller guy who's kind of hatching schemes.
Yeah, it's hatching schemes, like it's kind of the generic story. This film is a love letter to cinema. Throughout the movie, you get so many references to early cinema, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, and so many other deep cut references, like at the opening title as well, with the train coming past the station or the factory, like all those really, really old films. It was just lovely to see that as the Minions were there. I just find it so funny that the Minions are there the entire time throughout history. They invented Lego as well. Like it's just bonkers. I just love that.
Yeah, all of these films, the four Despicable Me films and the three Minions films, there's a lot of enjoyment to be gained. I don't think they're the kind of films where you can't wait for it to end. They all have that same quality where it's like, I'm having a fun time. But this one, it feels like all kinds of people are going to get something different from this. You've already mentioned so many amazing references, and there's just so many things in the background.
So many references.
You could do an hour-long breakdown of the absolute sheer amount. There is one plot line in this with a character called Deutch, played by Jesse Eisenberg.
That was Jesse Eisenberg? I did not realize. That was
Jesse Eisenberg, yeah.
Wow.
The voice cast in this is so unexpected.
George Lucas was in this film as well.
Yes, George Lucas. Genuinely, a cameo from the real-life George Lucas. They actually had him voice himself. I am floored. He's in a Minions movie now. Incredible. Fantastic. So Dort, that might be one of the most deep cut references to The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yes.
He's a reference to Gort. And I've got Gort on a t-shirt. I was like, oh my God, they're doing this. This is so cool. I think that's something that immediately makes this film more exciting. Now, here's a fun fact. So the director, Pierre Coffin, who has directed quite a few of these and voices all the Minions, genuinely, this man has changed cinema, particularly animated films. Like, we cannot underestimate the impact that he has made to culture. Facebook was never the same after the Minions.
Like, the memes, you had to be there.
Genuinely.
Old people using the memes. It's so ridiculous.
This all comes down to this one man, Pierre Coffin, the director, who didn't want to direct any more of these movies. He has said that he was done. And the thing that brought him back was this pitch. And I think that is so clear. This is such a labor of love. There are so many elements that are clearly the result of somebody who was tired with this universe and then had one great idea that he was like, we've got to make it now. And I think that's so cool.
It had such a stronger storyline as well. They are very distinct Minion characters. Obviously, we had the previous big three. We gotta pay respects to the big three.
As good as this film is, we lost something the moment that they decided not to have Kevin, Stuart, and Bob in this film. It's the golden trio. It's the Trinity. It's the
Trinity.
Their faces should be on Mount Rushmore. their contribution to cinema, the emotion of their storytelling from the other Minions films, and carrying that through to Despicable Me. Watching Despicable Me is such an emotional experience now because of what those three characters, because of the backstory, because of everything that they went through. I think it's a cinematic institution now, and I hope, because they are going to make more of these films, Despicable Me, maybe more Minions, and I hope that we see Kevin, Stewart, and Bob because they saved my life.
I did hear some leaks about their pay grade was higher than Robert Downey Jr.'s. They're divas. I think this is just cinema at its best, with the characters right here. My God, I miss Bob, I miss Kevin, and I miss Stewart.
We will always hold them in our hearts.
However, we did have some really good characterization from these three characters. James, that he's so creative, he wants to tell a visual story. And then you got Henry, who's just very supportive along the way. And then Ed, who the most unexpected thing was that he can do sign language. It's really nice that you've explored that.
I don't really relate to the Minions. I'm not watching them thinking, it's me. Oh my God, I feel seen. Hello. Just when we see Ed and we realize that he is deaf and that he is using sign language, obviously it's a Minion version of sign language. I look over at John. For those who don't know, John is deaf. You have cochlear implants. And I was just like, this is incredible.
I'm in the movie.
You're in the movie. You made it. I
Wow.
just couldn't believe it. It's amazing that that is a part of it. And the film obviously there's a lot of visual storytelling and there's sequences where you go 5, 10, I think the longest is about 15 minutes without any English. And it's all Minionese. They tell the story so well with just the snippets of the words and the visuals. Like there's a lot of slapstick, and obviously it is animation, but it's still kind of paying tribute to all of those insane slapstick geniuses from that era. So this is 1920s Hollywood. We're in the silent era. And one thing that this film tackles, much like Singing in the Rain or Babylon or The Artist, it tackles the transition into talkies and how that alienated people. And of course, with the Minions, they aren't saying the dialogue. And again, it just surprised me. It's like, oh, wow, we're actually delving into something really compelling here. Yes, it's like a silly minionized version, but we're knocking on the door of some really cool stuff. And I can't believe that film even got close to tackling some of that stuff.
Another thing as well with silent films, they brought people together. Many people went to America to emigrate there. People didn't really speak English, and it's really hard to fit in for the American dream in that time. And silent films really brought people together. I mean, for the Minions as well, like they brought into the movie business as well. Having that storyline all the way through, where movies can connect people in different ways, it's so powerful that film is just tackling many different topics, and it's so cool to get to see that in Minions.
There's also a votes for women angle. We get to meet a character who is a suffragette, and through that we get some interesting conversations about masculinity and about the kind of men that Debbie has known. It's all just stuff that I was just completely blindsided by. I'm just like, what? It's obviously very fast and the jokes are coming in at such a speed and there's always something happening on screen, so no one ever gets bored, and that can be oppressive. But also it's like, oh, this is really interesting, and I think that it asks questions to a young audience that is a little bit
Yeah, and their relationship is just so wholesome. With Deutch, he meets Debbie for the first time, and Debbie's like, "You're conquering the earth. Well, we're fighting for women's right." And then Deutch is like, "Well, under my watch, everyone should have equal rights under my power." They fall in love with each other along the way. I thought that was just really cute and wholesome. They were just respecting each other's worlds. Like, he's an alien, he's from outer space, and then you got Debbie fighting for women's rights. That is just very wholesome, in the Minions movie.
I think the thing that surprised me the most as well is James and Henry's relationship seems to be even more than just friends. I read them very much as a queer couple who are the only queer people in their tribe who find each other and staying up all night talking and get on super well and hugging each other and truly love each other, and are very much ostracized by their tribe, the straight people. That's not necessarily a way that everyone's going to read that. I think there are many ways, but for me, I was like, wow, that is a very interesting and at times a very powerful queer narrative. All these different things that this film goes into. And it's all quite meta as well.
Yes.
The Minions bursting onto the scene in Hollywood, becoming so popular in this movie, that's literally what happened in real life. And then the ending, if you do care about spoilers, this is going in spoilers. The Cthulhu guy summons a big gelatinous orange creature.
Blob.
Yeah, a blob, right?
Blob.
That basically just engulfs everything in its path like a juggernaut that destroys society and has 1,000 eyes and has people, they're so devoted in the way they follow it and believe in it. They bring it back so it can destroy. And that also has real
Yes.
world
Yes.
reflections. It's Trump. It's that,
Yes.
like, literally, I heard Mark Kermode and Simon Mayo talking about it. And when I was watching the movie, I was like, they are so right. Nothing that anyone's ever going to confirm. They literally, Simon Mayo asked the director, and the director was like, I didn't see that. But I just think it's great that you can read this film from so many different angles, and
Mm.
it doesn't feel mindless. It does feel like there are loads of different ways to unpack it all.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either, with that implication of what's going on with Hollywood and how Hollywood can be easily corrupted from higher ups, trying to change cinema in a completely different direction. I do recommend researching that. And I think Minions really did take that dedication to really speak about today.
And it's a Minions movie. How does a
It's a
Minions
Minion
movie
movie.
have this much to say about society? Now, I don't remember the first one very much. We went to see it for your birthday back whenever it came
Yes.
out. I've only seen it once. I haven't even seen the second one. It's the only one of this saga that I've never seen. I think this one is making more of a comment on society than any of these films. And, prove
Mm.
me wrong in the comments, please, because I haven't really ever thought about these films in this way. And the thing is, that Despicable Me 4, it ends in a way that is kind of like an ending for this whole franchise.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
has this beautiful scene where all the characters sing a song about everybody wanting to rule the world, and we get cameos from every single villain across the series, including the villains from Minions 1 and 2. And it
Mm.
feels so final. And I got a little bit emotional watching it because it was 14 years of my life. I've grown up with this in many ways. And obviously, it is a shame that they're making more, but this feels like a metatextual epilogue that doesn't really connect to anything else. It's not about the tribe of minions who go on to find Gru. It's about the culture of the industry. It's from a director who is saying, I don't have the passion for this anymore, but what I do have passion for is this industry, is this medium. This should be the final Minions verse film, because what a perfect way to round out this era of culture. People will look back on this and be like, what the heck was that about?
It's so bizarre when you just look back, just like all the silly fart jokes. It's so surprising. There wasn't really any fart jokes in this one, if you
Wow.
think about it.
They've matured. I just think it has endless charm. I think it's so fun. And yeah, we've grown up with this. This has been 16 years of our lives. John, you were a Minions fiend.
Oh, I had like a cardboard cutout of
Yes.
Gru, the Minions. I got all of that from Tesco. Tesco was like, "Do you want it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I just took it home at the same day. That was like the best day ever. And it stayed in my room for like at least 5 years.
That sat overlooking you in your bed
Yeah.
through your adolescence, basically. Gru watched you
Gru
grow
was like
up.
overlooking at me. He was like overlooking, just like while I was asleep.
It's interesting because this franchise, they have made a point similar to The Simpsons or Family Guy. The characters don't
Yes.
age, nobody grows. The most that we have in terms of actual lore, I guess, with actual aging and development, is the Minions films. That's the only time that we see Gru grow. And
I think it's say Grogu. He's like Grogu.
Jon Favreau was talking about Gru growing, and Dave Filoni said, "Say that again."
There's so many good jokes in this one, I think.
Yeah, there was a moment when we really laughed, but I can't remember what it was.
I'll go one that is really good. Is
Uh-huh.
so there's the new Hollywood sign. So Hollywoodland, right?
Yes.
In the past, Hollywood was called Hollywoodland. And then the sign just gets taken out by one of the monsters in the movie. And that's just brilliant. That's just absolutely
Amazing.
brilliant. I mean, there was the clown one. There was the clown minion that just I thought it had
Yeah.
weapons.
It's serving so many different comedic moments at once. It's like a great bit with Henry being chased by two kaijus, and it's sped up with like a piano track, like it's
Yes.
a silent film, like running through doorways and getting different props. And and going in and out, and like people open a hatch and they look out and then they go back in. Just so great. And I think it's a really good idea that this film decided not to continue on with the Gru storyline. This just serves so many different things we've never seen from this series before. However, it does raise a certain question. So in the first Minions film,
Right.
the Minions spend all of human history going to find their big boss, the most evil guy, and then conveniently they give up and they go into hibernation and they come back out in 50s, 60s, whenever the first film is set. In this film, we have a different tribe of minions who don't do that, but they're very active in the 20s and they're still looking for their big boss. And, anyone who knows history knows that,
Yeah.
there's
a bad man. There's a bad man.
Yeah, oh boy, is there.
I mean, there's more.
like,
There's more.
yeah,
Bad people.
bad people. You are
Bad
so
people.
right. So did the minions? Did they help Hitler?
There was a recent interview where
Yes.
the director actually said, no, they just went back to hibernation. Yeah.
Fair enough. That's
Yeah, that's your answer, guys.
God, it's crazy. The accidental law that they have suggested here. And I don't really want to think into it, but the moment you start to think into it, you're going to just realize the minions might have been complicit in some of history's most devastating atrocities.
I don't want to think that either. Maybe we should stop that.
Insanely, this film is underperforming at the box office. It's got the best reviews out of any Minions movie, and yet it's not getting the audience. So,
No.
in its first weekend, they got 147 global opening.
Okay.
It is a little bit of a disappointing one. Is this franchise going to fizzle out? Despicable Me 5 is on the way. I think it is a shame people aren't seeing this in as bigger numbers, because it is the best one. Yet again, another thing is underperforming at the box office in 2026. It's not a catastrophic failure, but still, this year is proving to be fascinating for what is doing well and what you would expect to do well.
This might be controversial to say. I think this should be in the Criterion collection, Minions and the Monsters.
That is controversial. That's too far.
That's
It was good, but like, come on, it's not.
okay. I'm teasing. I mean, K-pop Demon Hunters is on Criterion. So
Is
that's
it?
funny. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. See, that's the thing. You look at animation now, and things like K-pop Demon Hunters seem to be almost taking the spot of something like
Yes.
Minions and Monsters. I mean, if you look at the early 2000s, Pixar was in its heyday. And I think they've passed that now. Obviously, something like Toy Story is kind of timeless, and that will keep on coming back. But aside from sequels, Pixar hasn't really had a big hit since Wall-E, maybe. Like, culturally, there hasn't been one. DreamWorks kind of similarly, they had their Kung Fu Pandas and their How to Train Your Dragons in the early 2010s, Megamind. But then Illumination basically steals the show for a decade with the Despicable Me and the Minions movies. And now, I don't know what is happening, but you've got your K-pop Demon Hunters and your Across the Spider-Verses. I think that this is the time for the Minions to bow out gracefully. But no, we're getting Despicable Me 5, so buckle up.
But yeah, we're back. Right then, what are you going to give out of 10?
I think I'm going for 6 out of 10.
I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I'm very positive with
Nice.
this. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. Thank you, everyone listening. Wherever you're listening, like it, follow, whatever your options are. And next week, we're going to be doing Punisher One Last Kill.
Wow.
Very different from Minions. If you're here as
Yes.
a Minions fan, don't watch that video. That's very grim.
That's very graphic, you know.
And you can send us an email, lasttimefilmpod@gmail.com. And we'll answer it right here in the podcast next week.
Yeah, so you can follow us on Instagram at Out of Time Film Party, our incredible thumbnails from Zain, on Twitter for more thoughts from Tom and me, and TikTok to see edited clips, which are all also on Instagram, Reels, and YouTube Shorts. And you can find links to that all in the description below. Thanks to Elle for the excellent theme, and Ronan for logos as always. And I think that's everything. Take away given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.